Rihanna's billion-dollar breakthrough did not come from making more music. It came from owning a large piece of the thing her fame could sell. That feels obvious now, when every second celebrity seems to have a beauty line. But in 2017, Rihanna made a much sharper move than putting her face on a bottle. She entered a huge industry with a specific complaint. Too many people still could not find makeup made for their skin. Then she launched at global scale on day one. The famous name got attention. The product gap gave people a reason to care. And ownership meant that if the brand became valuable, Rihanna would not just collect a campaign fee. Her stake could become more valuable with it. That is the Fenty story, not singer tries makeup. It is how trust, positioning, infrastructure, and equity turned fame into an asset. Long before Fenty Beauty, Rihanna Fenty understood the power of an image. She grew up in Barbados, was discovered as a teenager, and entered the music business while she was still young. The rise was fast. Hit records, tour, endorsements, fashion campaigns. By her 20s, Rihanna was not merely famous. She had a recognizable point of view. That distinction matters. Plenty of famous people can borrow attention for a launch. Fewer have an audience that trusts their taste. Rihanna had spent years changing her look in public. Hair, clothes, makeup, entire album eras. Her fans did not just listen to her. They watched what she chose. So when she entered beauty, it felt connected to something she already had permission to talk about. Still, permission is not a company. If Rihanna had licensed her name to a manufacturer, she could have earned good money with much less risk. A licensing deal usually pays for access to a name, image, or audience. It can be extremely lucrative, but the celebrity does not necessarily own the machine being built behind the name. Fenty Beauty took a different route. Rihanna partnered with Kendo, a beauty brand developer owned by luxury group LVMH. Kendo brought the unglamorous parts that celebrity launches often lack: product development, manufacturing relationships, operations, and a path into Sephora stores. Rihanna brought the name, creative direction, customer insight, and a ridiculous amount of attention. This was not a solo founder mixing foundation at the kitchen table. It was a partnership between cultural reach and industrial plumbing. Then came the most important choice: what problem would the brand own? Foundation is one of the hardest makeup products to buy. The color has to work with a person's skin tone and undertone. Get it wrong, and the result can look orange, gray, pink, or like you borrowed somebody else's face. For years, many customers with very light or deep skin had fewer useful options. Some brands technically sold darker shades, but the undertones or store availability still missed the mark. Fenty made that frustration the center of its launch. Pro Filter Foundation arrived in 40 shades. The number became the headline, but the message was larger. People treated as edge cases by other brands would be visible here. This was positioning you could see on a shelf. The campaign showed a broad range of skin tones. Reviewers tested the products online. Customers shared their shade matches. The product gave people something more persuasive than a celebrity slogan: evidence. And Fenty did not start as a tiny online experiment. On September 8, 2017, it launched across 17 countries, about 1,600 stores, Sephora websites, and its own site. Someone could see the campaign, watch a review, and often buy the product immediately. Fame created the spark. Distribution stopped the spark from dying in a checkout queue. Forbes reported about $100 million in sales during the first few weeks and more than $550 million in revenue in 2018, Fenty Beauty's first full calendar year. Those numbers are reported estimates, not an open set of company accounts, but they capture the speed of the launch. Competitors noticed something even more valuable. Customers were rewarding inclusion. Soon, a wide foundation range was no longer a nice sentence in a press release. It was an expectation. Beauty writers started using the phrase, the Fenty effect, for the pressure on brands to expand shades and representation. But there is a trap in telling this story. 40 shades alone did not make Rihanna rich. A large shade count can still be badly designed. A celebrity can attract first-time buyers and lose them just as quickly. Marketing can create a launch. It cannot force people to repurchase a product they dislike. Fenty had to behave like a beauty company after opening weekend. That meant more products, more formulas, retail execution, and an identity that survived when Rihanna was not standing beside every display. It also meant accepting that not every Fenty experiment would work. In 2019, Rihanna and LVMH launched a separate luxury fashion house called Fenty. It was a historic partnership and a much harder business. High-end clothing requires seasonal collections, expensive inventory, and repeated bets on what customers will buy. In 2021, the ready-to-wear operation was put on hold. That stumble is useful because it separates the power of the name from the quality of the business model. Rihanna's fame was enormous in both cases. Beauty found a broad, repeat purchase market and a sharp customer problem. Luxury fashion did not find the same rhythm. Meanwhile, Fenty Beauty kept expanding. There was color makeup, skincare, fragrance, and new versions of complexion products. LVMH later described the beauty brand as posting robust growth in 2023. It had become bigger than the first viral moment. Now we reach the part that changed Rihanna's personal fortune: equity. In 2021, Forbes estimated Fenty Beauty was worth about $2.8 billion and reported that Rihanna owned half. On that estimate, her stake represented roughly $1.4 billion of value on paper. Add a stake in the separate Savage x Fenty lingerie business, plus music and other earnings, and Forbes placed her total fortune at about $1.7 billion at the time. Net worth estimates move. Private companies do not publish every number, and a stake is not cash sitting in a bank account. The exact figure can rise, fall, or be revised. The durable point is simpler. The largest part of the estimate came from something she owned, not a performance check. Imagine two deals. In the first, a celebrity gets paid $10 million to promote a product. That is excellent money. Once the campaign ends, the product may become 10 times more valuable, but the celebrity's payment does not automatically grow with it. In the second, the celebrity owns a meaningful share of the company. Now attention is not only being rented, it is helping build an asset. If the company earns more, expands, or receives a higher valuation, the stake can grow too. There is more risk, but there is also a very different ceiling. Rihanna's unusual edge was not simply being famous enough to launch a brand. She combined four things at once. First, she had earned trust in beauty and style before asking anyone to buy makeup. Second, the brand chose a neglected customer problem that was easy to understand and easy to demonstrate. Third, Kendo and Sephora provided product expertise and global distribution. The business did not have to invent every pipe before turning on the water. And fourth, Rihanna held equity. The attention, customer goodwill, and sales were building value in an asset connected to her. None of this means every creator should start a cosmetics company. The lesson is not be famous, add foundation, become a billionaire. Fenty had unusual capital, partners, distribution, and cultural reach. Most founders do not start with those advantages. The useful lesson is about deal structure and fit. What does your audience already trust you to choose? What problem can they describe without hearing a 10-minute pitch? Which partner can supply the capabilities you do not have? And if your work creates the upside, do you own any of that upside? Rihanna's music made her globally recognizable. Fenty Beauty made that recognition economically durable. The brand did not replace the fame. It converted the fame into a company. That is why the Billionaire headline was not really about another successful album. It was about moving from being the face people pay to use, to being an owner of the thing behind the face. Which part of the Fenty strategy mattered most? Rihanna's trust, the inclusive product idea, the LVMH partnership, or the ownership stake? Pick one in the comments, because the strongest answer may not be the most obvious one. Either way, the quiet move beneath the loud launch was equity, and that changed the money story.